so we're going to speak about how to get interest from journalists, okay, how to catch media attention from your social media especially, okay, a few little tricks of the trade, shall we say. Also, I'll go through it relatively quickly, and then any questions, just ask them freely at the end. The recording will be online from tomorrow. I'll download it tonight. Thanks to Matthieu for helping with this. It'll be up on YouTube tomorrow, like the last one. The presentation I will send out as well. Okay. So just
one thing, Alan. Like,
sure,
just to be easier, just mute yourself and raise your hand, and I will introduce when you have some question. That is not the jungle.
Okay, Matthieu, thank you very, very much. That's a good point. It worked well last week. So just, you have the little hand signal. So if you have a question, just click on it and Matthieu will bring you in. Okay, so we'll get it rolling. Right, so we're going to, we'll start now. I think we have our chairperson from Oslo in, correct?
Yeah, that's me. Hi.
How are you doing? No, you're grand. We're just about to start now in a moment. So what I'll do is I'm just going to introduce a little bit. Then I'm going to put up the presentation. I'll flick through it as quick as possible, and we'll get out of here hopefully by 10:15, just in time for last orders. Okay? So we'll do it. Right. So the most important thing I want to just say right now is that we think we're very, very isolated. And we think, okay, we're not really noteworthy, because most of the time we look at the presentation of sports in media, especially, and in news, and immediately we're thinking of okay, there's Ronaldo, Messi, there's, Tyson Fury in boxing, or whoever it may be, but it's always big teams, big events. However, most news media, especially local newspapers, for example, or local websites, they're looking for us. Why? Because we will get them more value. Okay, it's easier to do a story on us than it is to try and get access to Bayern Munich or to, I don't know, Grasshopper Zurich, for example, or Lokomotiv Moscow. So it's easier to get something from us that people then will buy and spread. Okay, it's the reason why local newspapers in Ireland continue to do pretty well overall, because usually what they have a trick is, if they're a weekend one, on the Thursday or Friday, they go to the local nightclub, take pictures of local people dancing the whole lot, ask them their name, ask them where they're from, and then have a 2-page spread of just nice photos, people posing and smiling. Those people go and buy newspapers. Okay, it's their chance of, it's a big kind of stardom or fame. We can use the same kind of mentality, but in reverse, and I'll explain how. Okay, so I'm going to open up our SharePoint, so the PowerPoint. It's just loading up. It's number 2. Hopefully this is right. Oh, this is number 1. Matthieu, have you got number? Is there number 2 there as well?
What do you mean by number 2?
It's in our group, our calendar group. That was last week. My apologies, trying to get this in.
And just check.
It's in the file I uploaded today, Matthieu. Because last week you were. No?
Don't see anything.
It was in 10 hours ago.
10 hours ago.
Yeah, in the files under General in our PRO group.
I just check.
Okay.
Okay, yes, I have it.
Yeah. Okay, if you can throw that in, so we're not going 1 week back.
2 minutes. I need to first download it, and it's why I don't do it.
Oh, listen, can I upload it directly from my computer, Matthieu?
Yes, I think you can download it. Yeah, you can download it directly. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I make one stupid thing, but so it's okay. It's done.
Okay. Okay. Look, if you want to, can you?
Yeah, I can share.
Okay. Can you upload it and share it?
Yeah. So it's okay for me. Okay. Okay. It's okay. Just like, okay. Just enter Tony in. Are you all agree?
Yeah.
It's okay. Everybody see my screen?
There we go. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So this is a very simple thing entitled Turning Social Media into News. Okay. And we were able to do that here. And I did it with the help of Laura here in Russia last year related to Team Russia. However, that's, it was easy for us to do here because it was kind of a dead season and there was lots of news media looking for something. So we start off. Matthieu, if we can click on to the next page, please. Because I don't seem to be able to move it. Matthieu? Oh, great.
Okay, Alan?
No, if you can, because it's not showing up on the screen just yet. There we go. Okay. Can you make that the full screen or the?
Yes, I will try. It's okay.
I think you need to maybe double click on the slide to make it. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay, Matthieu, are you controlling the slides now?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I say next, perfect. Okay, so introduction, very, very simple. I said that journalists are lazy. I am one, so I could say that. And it's very, very easy to get your material into local press, and not just local press, and also to national as well. The reason is, that usually they're under huge time pressure in newsrooms. I'll explain that in the next slide, that they have a quota to hit every day, every week, every month. And they're just absolutely bombarded because, for example, why we need to have a finished product that we would give to a journalist. Because of increased pressure in newsrooms, and they don't have people to go checking or to be sending out. They need something exact. They need to say, this is happening at this time, and it definitely will start at this time, If not, they won't come back a second time. We have huge competitions, not just with sports clubs or with companies, but also PR companies, because they're the ones who are connected very, very tightly. I'll explain that in a moment, with local and national media. So we have huge competition to make our products valuable and interesting for news agencies or newsrooms. Proof of worth, why is it worth for them to give us column space or to come out and film a story or anything like that? We have to show them why, If we have a nice finished product, some nice text, a photo, and something they can get involved in, that they can say, oh, this hits home, this is local, they will go for it. And then the proof, they control the quality of content. This is so important. When I was, different events and I was getting invited to them usually from PR companies or even from sports clubs, I get an invite to go out and cover it, and I look and go, they spelled my name wrong, or they have spelled our company name wrong, or they've used the wrong photo, or the photo they use is stamped that it's not allowed to be used, or the video. So they basically have tried to make it as cheap as possible and messed up. So the finished product, even though everything else is okay and the event is worthy, the quality just looked crap from the outset, and it goes directly into well, it'll go into spam next time, and this time it's definitely going into my trash. Okay, next one, Matthieu. Okay, again, increase news pressure in newsrooms, different resources. As I mentioned, they have to get a certain number of stories each day, week, and month. The editorial line is that the editor, you got the main editor and then their department editor. So for us, we would look at sport or local news. They will have a certain line to follow. So they say, listen, no one's interested in, a camogie club playing in Dusseldorf. that's the mindset that we have to change, and we can and we will change something like that. Okay, they also have to ensure journalists now, they don't just write a story and hand it off, type it on typewriter and hand it away. They have to put it out on Twitter, Facebook. They have to handle digital journalism as well. So it's very, very difficult for them. And again, with the time pressure that they're under, it's almost impossible to cover every local story. Okay, so every news organization and agency, that's what they work with. Again, if we have a finished product with a decent photo or a video, and also tell them why the story is interesting, they're going to go, okay, I'll have a look at it, and I can't do it today, but maybe next time, or at least they'll reach out to you. That's what you want. You need them to at least make contact. So you need to be the editor. You need to give them the finished product. I'll give you one quick example of when we had a player playing in Wimbledon, the qualifiers, a Russian player based in Ireland, no real news value at all if we didn't push it. So we kept writing the copy, where she's based, who her coach was, her age, her ranking, and who she's playing. And we kept sending it to all the Irish journalists, all the Irish, like targeted them because I knew who to send it to. And suddenly it was appearing in newspapers and on websites, including RTE, word for word, verbatim. So basically they just copy pasted what I sent them. That's how easy it is most of the time if you have good content, and also if they know you and they begin to trust you, they'll just go, yeah, that's okay, it's not fake news, we'll put it in. Okay, next one, Matthieu, please. We got it, Matthieu?
Yes, I am on the next one.
Okay, great. Okay.
Function with other interesting critic peer company.
Perfect. So again, journalists are getting dozens, trust me, dozens of press media releases. They get inside stories, they get scoops, scandals. They'll have football agents or sports agents calling them. They'll have, the jilted lover of some football player. They have so much to try and do, and that's on a regular day. Okay. As well as that, they have to cover this, this, and this. So we're in competition with them. PR companies have an advantage because they usually have ex-journalists who've worked, quite high up in certain media organizations, or trainee journalists who have already done internships, for example, in certain newsrooms. So they know who to go to. Okay, so they've connected their clout. Major companies or sports clubs or government organizations, as you say, future considerations or freebies. It's like you get a VIP pass, you get a nice little gift pack to take away with you, or they'll say, listen, you give us a nice story now, like we'll give you the next scoop. Okay, so that's how it works. Main thing to keep in mind is be realistic, be innovative, be aggressive, and consistently aggressive. Now, why aggressive? I don't mean you go in and grab a journalist by the scruff of the neck and start smacking him in the head. Works once or twice, but then the third time it gets a bit messy, especially the police involved. But basically, you need to say, our club is the best thing here. We are the best club of all time. Why? This is why. Now, the next thing you have to do is back it up, okay? But you'll do it. You will do it because everyone else will buy into it, because everyone else will see this is a big, big opportunity, okay? So, again, be aggressive, as in go after them. Don't give up. If they don't write back the first time, doesn't matter. Write to them. Change what you say. Make it more interesting next time. Okay? Matthieu, next, please. Okay. Proof of worth. Very, very important. We're not going to be able to give them lounge seats or VIP lounge or tickets to, Formula 1 Grand Prix. Well, maybe you can. If you can, do it. So what can we offer? Okay, we usually start small and think big. You invite a journalist to an event, a cup of tea and sandwich, it goes a long way. A pint, a chat is great. When you have enough followers, okay, on social media, at the moment, newsrooms look at 1,000 followers, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Twitter, so those three, they look at those. How many followers do you have? If you have 1,000 or more, you're worthwhile. because they return it into click-throughs and how they can make money off it. Okay, so if you have 1,000 or more, it's good. But again, they will also check it to see if there's lots of fake followers. That's something that news agencies do now a lot, whether it's with influencers here in Russia. One quite well-known singer had over 1 million followers. When they fact-checked it, it turned out that she had less than 200,000. Okay, it's still a lot, but it's well under 1 million. Okay, and it makes it less interesting for PR companies or for advertising. Keep in your mind the following. Okay, what makes you newsworthy? Is it your youth section, your ladies team, your men's team? There's no Irish players on the men's team. For example, it's all locals. The coach might be Irish, but the rest are all locals or non-Irish. Is there a story to tell about a player? Do you have something planned that's worth writing about? Okay, these are simple little things you can catch the attention with. Very, very simple example. I saw clubs last year, one of the teams from Argentina at the World Games, got a couple of nice write-ups because they had shown where they'd been to other World Games and also that they were partnered with a club in Kerry, I think it was. So again, something, we have this link, okay? So it's to show why. Why should they bother turning up? Why should they write about you? Why should they speak about you? What's interesting? Galicia were brilliant for the World Games, and hell, I'm praising you a lot, but you deserve it. Simply because they got a huge amount of local TV, okay, radio as well, and they're there quite regularly. Again, it's kind of something that's kind of almost like a national interest, but you can do that with everywhere. Okay, we know how in Europe the local town is important as the country. Okay, we know that. So this is what we focus on. What makes us unique? Our USP, unique selling point. Why should people write about us? Why should people read about us? Why should people listen to us? These are important. Okay, Matthieu, next up, please. The quality of content. We mentioned this last week about doing less, but of higher quality. So instead of 20 photos, put in 2 photos, 3 photos, or even a single photo. Okay. This again goes from our press or media release to our social media channels to our events. Okay. Again, this is important. The quality of content. As PROs, we are in charge of events. Okay. So we're in charge of events as well. We need to make sure they look good because they reflect. That's our public image. As I said, if the quality is weak, you're not going to be newsworthy a second time. Okay, they'll come along, they'll look and go, oh, good God, it's Ragball Rovers, and they'll walk. Okay, you can get attention with a good video. Okay, a short story with good photos. It doesn't have to be every day or week or even monthly, but do something at once a quarter. So once every quarter. That has somebody got a mic on? Just it's coming back loud across my mic. No. Okay. No. Sorry. One second. I've been come from my window. Okay. So yeah. So plan it out each quarter. That is consistent.
Please, like if the people who are not Alan, please mute your mic because I think someone have a mic open and like we have like background sound.
Is that what it is? Thanks, Matthieu. Okay.
But I cannot do it because I chair.
Okay.
So you can mute the people.
Okay. That's democracy. Thank you, Matthieu. Okay. So if you have something out once each quarter, it'll wake up a newsroom. Okay. The reason is if it's out every week, you're going to be competing with, the local soccer club. If it's in, Dusseldorf is Fortuna, or they're sending in something. If it's in Munich, Bayern, TSV, they're regular things. We're not going to get that yet. Okay, so we have to build towards it. Okay, for an event, we mentioned last week we're getting your event team. Okay, a couple of years ago, as I mentioned last week when I introduced it in Moscow, say have a PRO and then an event team there, event committee, a subcommittee. it worked. And Laura can verify this, that this works because you have more people helping out and more people interesting, okay? But make sure when it's an event that you control everything down to the last. It's a bit of stress, okay? You're not going to enjoy the event as much as you could if you're just sitting there sculling pints. But afterwards, you look back and go, I see the mistakes, but you know what? It went well. Everyone's happy. They've gone home sweating, okay? Plan as much as you can to eliminate any mistakes, and then get feedback with your team. To hell with everybody else, get feedback with your team, because you are the guys who matter most. You're the people who are there. You know the plan. You know where it went wrong. You don't need someone slapping your back and saying, great fella, well done, that was great, or good girl. No, you know what went wrong. Fix it with your team, okay? Same for social media posts. Get feedback and advice, okay? And ensure that you stay on message for your club brand or for your event pitch. Okay, Matthew, next one, please. Is it gone, Matthew, or we're the slides are okay? Great, okay. Okay, this is the first of two parts that is going to win you the hearts and minds and beer bellies of journalists around Europe. 6 easy steps. Know their work. Journalists love to be flattered. We all do, but journalists really do, okay? If you know their work, you know what they write about, how they approach a subject, then you know how to adjust your invitation or your release, okay? Because a release doesn't have to go to everybody. You can maybe just pick one journalist, get them in, okay? Save your words. They don't need to know the entire history of your club or the president or even the GAA, okay? Get to the point, okay? Get to the point. Save your words for when you're sitting down having a cup of tea, all right? Or a beer. So get to the point. Number 3, believe what you say, all right? If you show that you really believe in the event or the club, or that this story really is going to get them likes and shares, and it's the best, they will see it as well and they'll feel it, okay? Sell your passion for it and they will buy it. Trust me on that. That's what will happen. Follow through. Journalists, they respect and they will help. This goes for sponsors and partners as well. They will respect and help. You know, if you say we'll do this, you do it. If you're reliable and you do it. They don't mind if you come to an event, it starts 10 minutes late or 5 minutes late or even half an hour late. If you say, oh God, okay, so-and-so, it's going to be delayed. Do you know what? Have you met this person? Keep them on side, okay? And follow through. They will respect you because of that. Accommodate. You might have, right, at 8 o'clock we start this, at 8:30 is this, and 8:45, and it's like military. It's perfect. And you've been planning it for a month. They come along and then they start talking to somebody, go, do you know what, this is actually a really good story. I can sell this. It's not a slap in the face for you. It's a compliment because you got the person there in the first place. They've noticed something that they can sell because it's their job to get likes, to get shares, to get readers, or to get viewers. If they see something else on the side, get it, okay? Let them, because they're going to report on you and report on the event anyway, but they'll also notice that this is actually newsworthy as well, okay? So sometimes it hits in the heart a little bit. You kind of go, well, hold on, I failed. No, you haven't, you've won. You've won, you're a winner, okay? Again, so that's with accommodate, with spread the word. If there's an event, for example, or whereas you need to get everybody on board, get everybody in. If it's an event in a pub, get everybody in, pack the place out. It's going to make the pub happy. It's going to make the journalists happy because they're going to feel part of something big. They'll feel the energy. Our energy is unique. Okay, our energy is unique. You know, it goes out saying, no matter where you go, we feel it. It's why we've got a mix of nationalities on this call. If it was just me and Niamh, Tony, Sinead, I'm just looking at the people here in the bottom of the screen, just naming as they go along. They'd say, yeah, it's an Irish thing. It's not. It's greater than that, okay? It's greater than me. It's greater than all of us. we use that then to get the word out. Okay, so as soon as then they do it, make sure that you share it. Okay, Matthieu, on to the next one, because the next one is going to kill journalists in a nice way, not in a Russian way, of course. Sorry, I didn't say that. Okay, this is kind of Russian. Hunting your prey. Okay, now I've done this from both sides, from when I've been a journalist, and also working in PR and in marketing, trying to get people. Find out, okay, do an Excel file, start to build it up. It doesn't have to be done tomorrow or wherever, do it for yourself. All the media resources in your city and region, okay? Start off local, city and region. Why? We'll come back to that later, because if you go city and region, they're all linked, okay? They're all in a network, and it'll go up, because if there's someone in Berlin sees a nice story in Augsburg or Dusseldorf or Munich, or if they're sitting in Cologne, they'll take it, okay, and go national and go international with it as well, all right? This is how it happens. So find out all the media resources in the city region. Gather the names and contact details of sports journalists and editors, okay? That's first rank, okay? You see people who cover just soccer. They might have been in Ireland. They might love Ireland. Sell it with Ireland. Oh, yeah, it's an Irish sport. Never heard of it. There you go, okay? Most of them will. Any good sports journalist around the world will know Gaelic games. They might not know exactly. They might think, they'll think rugby is American football. You know, they'll think Gaelic football is for crazy people. Hurling is for really crazy people. Camogie, just don't even go there, okay? Then into your Excel sheet, add in journalists who do local colour stories. This again is like local events, garden parties, birthdays, launches. They're again the people who usually do photo stories. And they're the people who you can get in, okay? They do local colours, so they cover like the man with the longest beard or the woman with the longest fingernails. We are between sport and this category, okay? We're between this. So we're not this or not this. This is where we can catch the people, okay? And they will pay you back because they think, oh, it's a great story, okay? So you just, wow, this is amazing. All these people, do you have professionals? No, you're doing it for free. Wow, okay? So it's a colour story. So now you have a list what to do next. Simple advice. Have a launch, okay? Okay, a launch. And I say okay twice because a launch could be a new kit, a new season, event presentation. Okay, a presentation. So, okay, event or a presentation. So here's our new kit. Here's our team. They're going away to play in the Pan Euros. We're having a party to raise funds before they go, but also you present the team. It works. Okay, it's an event. They'll be there, and it's good. End of season awards. We nearly all do this. Okay, this year's a bit messed up, but we can do it later on in the year. Make it a calendar year. Best player in club servant, for example, someone's there for 5 years, 10 years, give them an award, and have an open training session. That's the third one, okay? Again, this could be tough to organize. It usually works better with video media. So with TV, it works well, but get whatever you can. So again, the post session is good. So after a training session, give them access to all areas and then get into the pub. Like they can put the cameras away and then go into the pub and have a chat. It's important as well to be careful not to show, oh, we'll go off to the pub afterwards and go drinking. And I'll give a very, very concrete example of this. A number of years ago, we got one of the big Russian websites, sports news websites, to do a story. Afterwards, we went to a local pub. Laura knows it, Katie O'Shea's, and we did and had lunch. I think maybe two people had, like, it was a Sunday afternoon, they had like a beer or a cider, and we all went away. We're out by 2 o'clock and already on the way home. The guy wrote about how great it was to see the Irish team. They train very hard, and then they all go off drinking. There was a real negative kind of reflection on us, and what was done as a kind of a nice ha-ha story turned out to be not that nice. So be careful with that, okay? Because again, this could knock on, especially if there's if you have a youth section or youths involved, it will reflect on us. All right, steps. Short, snappy press media release done, photo and email, okay, or printed and hand delivered, and make sure it's personally addressed. Do not, under any circumstance, like, you know, dear sir, madam, or send it like that. I can only say for my own that I will look at it, just the first one. If they're addressing it like a bulk mail and I don't see anything free in it, it's gone. Okay. I'm materialistic, yes. But no, I mean, it's just like, what's the point? Okay. If they want me to be there, they'll ask me to be there. So take that little bit of extra time to address it. Okay. Again, it could be only once a quarter or once a year, but make it personal for something like this. Invite the journal or the journalist or editor to MC the event. So to be the master of ceremonies or to make a presentation. So have someone from the club who's a good speaker, who's a good, personality to be the master of ceremonies or mistress of ceremonies. But ask the journalist who's there, would you make a presentation? Okay. And again, it's kind of getting in there. You can also get your sponsor to be making a presentation, so their picture gets in the paper or on the website. So again, it supports that side as well, okay? Or even to make a short speech, usually better after you get to know them, okay? So to get them involved. And the last one as well, I'm trying to see, how do you say without being rude? Make sure people don't get roaring drunk. Make sure people don't start rowing, especially with the journalists or with each other, and make sure everybody is on message, okay? So that they take part, they're ready to go, okay? Have it like a real military operation, so people are ready to boom, 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 and they're moving and again, staying on message to present the best side. So if it's dress, like wearing a shirt, even if it's pink, if people wear shirts or they wear their kit, make sure everybody is the same. You'll always get one Yahoo who walk in a, Guns N' Roses or, Rolling Stones t-shirt and sort of like already tanked up and go, ah. Make sure, because again, this reflects on you and the club. So make sure it's good. Okay. Next page, please, Matthieu. Okay. So this is something that I was asked about in between during the week, about what if we buy advertising on Facebook? We mentioned it a little bit last week. So this is where business to business, okay, B2B, business to business, they're investing, the one where they get the most feedback. I mentioned LinkedIn last week, then Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, okay? And all the way down as well, like through medium.com and so on. We have to remember that we're not just B2B, we're B2C. So we are kind of going from club to media and to other sports organizations that we want to impress, to government. We're also going to customers as well. So the customers are, people who we want to join and to come and train with us, to come and support us. Okay, so B2B, we're looking kind of at our sponsors or potential backers and so on, and in B2C. So if you're going to do any investment in Facebook or in Instagram or LinkedIn, it can work, very, very good results, but you need to have a concrete goal and a financial plan. So say, we're going to spend 100 euros to do X, and this is why, and have it at step. So the photo, the video, it's really good quality that people will look at, okay? If it's just, we're going to spend the money, you're going to lose overall, okay? So be careful. If you're going to do adverts, what I mentioned here is local newspapers, local media. This is so important. A couple of adverts in local newspapers, it gives back, okay? It builds a relationship and shows stability. Just to take a little advert, training starts at this time. So you put you buy a small advert on training. It might not cost that much, but it goes a long way, because then the next thing they're going to say, well, listen, we'll go out to cover the event. So if a newspaper covers your event, if you want to do an advertisement, go to them, because then they'll come back to you again. Okay, so it's a two-way thing. I think that is it. Matthieu, can we click on to the next one? I think that's all. Yep, thank you for your attention, or lack of attention, or well, that you're all still awake. And yeah, so Matthieu, we can take down the presentation. You can see my ugly mug again, and you can raise your hands to ask questions. Matthieu, I see your hand up.
Yeah. just like the experience that I have in Basel. Like, you have a local newspaper named L'Alsace with like the name of the region, and I was like a little bit shy at the beginning to contact them because it's a newspaper, and like I say one day I just take the phone, call them. I get one journalist, and like during one full season, you just follow. I just send the result and he put on the newspaper, and like I just followed with him a few years ago, and like now my neighbor in my place is a journalist in the same newspaper, and when I wanted an article, I just ring to my neighbors, and more or less I have an article in the newspaper, and we just like construct a good relation.
It is. And we're all, I mean, I know it's easier for some people, but even Tony, I can definitely say, I can see Tony here. Tony has a lifetime of experience dealing at the top end of media where I would only dream of going. And that's not putting me down. That's just saying that Tony's been up at that level. And I know that before every time he contacts someone, you're not doubting yourself, but you're just making sure you have everything right. And you feel a little like a bit of maybe butterflies or a bit of nerves in your stomach. The day you don't have that, quit. The day you don't have that little bit of, oh, I want it to be perfect, don't do it, okay? Because for sure you're not going to be yourself. You're not going to be your best self. That little bit of adrenaline is good. Now, I'm not talking about like taking methamphetamines or like speedballing cocaine or something. No, just understand you be nervous, like as Matthieu said, but do it, okay? Do it, just do it, because they're going to be happy to hear from you in any case, okay? Okay, so questions or comments or criticism?
Yeah, Alan, I suppose I can come in there. If it works for you, if someone has a hand up, by all means, go ahead of me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tony. Nobody hands up.
Yeah, I totally concur with everything you've said, including, and probably the most accurate thing you said was journalists are lazy.
I'm talking about myself, Tony. You know me.
Yeah, no, I've been there. Like I was a government spokesman, so I dealt with a lot of journalists, and they like it handed to them on a plate. So that, you know, the more you can package and write for the journalist, the better. And that's why it is important to look at style. It's why when I'm lecturing on communications, I always say you don't need one press release. You need a number of them. You need to tailor them for the specific audience that you're going after. If you're doing something for a local paper, it's totally different, or a local TV station, totally different than national. You may pick up in national because they will pick from locals. But having said that, if you're going for local, it's really important that you link it to something local. Now, in my experience, what journalists are looking for is what I call the C's. They're looking for conflict, competition, controversy, things like that. So if you can tailor your press release to introduce an element of something that's interesting, like just having an event may or may not be interesting, agreeing on something, or you've like I've seen it. The classic one would be like a club rebrands, has a new logo or something like that, and you want to announce it. Well, announcing a new logo is not news, but if the logo has something in it, that could be news, or if it was designed by someone in the city or a well-known designer or something like that, you can get some coverage out of that, because you might be piggybacking on the designer's brand awareness, if you like, or the designer's cachet. So there's always ways of what I would call the hook that gets the journalists interested. You have to get their attention. I mean, I would normally, start off a presentation on communications by what I call the 7 C's. And the first one is you have to command attention. And then when you have people's attention, then you can communicate with them. It's a bit like it's a crowded room. And a journalist is on average, journalists tell me, it depends where they are, but a lot of journalists will say they see 60 to 100 press releases a day. You've got to jump out of the pile. The vast majority of press releases get pressed delete, or, if it could, in the old days, it used to come in the fax. There used to be a bin beside the fax machine in every newsroom. And the vast majority of press releases went in the bin. So it's how you make that breakthrough. And it can be the quirkiest little thing. I mean, one of the things I'm always telling the Irish people who are involved, if they want to get it, because they like to get a bit of coverage back in Ireland, and that does Gaelic Games Europe no harm, because the more coverage we get there, the more aware they are, the more funding we get. So I'm always encouraging that. But for instance, if you have someone from Cork, go to the Irish Examiner, because that's the paper that serves the Cork market. Or, you know, a fabulous place for getting, and again, this is very Irish orientated, but the same would apply throughout Europe. If you have connections from an area, focus on the connections. Like if you have someone from Clare, the Clare champion will run a story on them if they're playing in your tournament. So, for instance, what we used to do, you know, for the Pan-Europeans is certainly up to a few years ago, we'd find out a few people from every county, and then we'd send a press release to each regional newspaper with a list of the players from that county and maybe their original club. And I guarantee it was almost 100% publication rate.
Yeah.
Because a lot of small local media have very few journalists. And this is where it comes back to, it's not just lazy, but it's also efficiency. If they get something in that takes them 5 minutes to make it ready for publication, whether it's on the website or in the paper, they will use it. So just to make those few comments.
No, and also, Tony, I mentioned at the very, very start, because local is good, because they can also they'll increase their sales for that week. Yeah. Because like Jimmy's mammy's going to buy 5 newspapers, and the granny's going to buy 2, and his auntie's going. So it's, and also
there's a picture that sell 50 more.
This is it. I mentioned, like in Dundalk, they always had, all the regional newspapers will have the party night. It's committing to Sunday, they have it. So it's Tony, perfect. And I like the command one as well. I said be aggressive, but I think it's better to shout.
Des, I have a question. So just go ahead, Des.
Yeah, Des, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's generally better not to have, like I say, a weekly or a monthly post. It's more like it's better to have a quarterly one that kind of grabs the attention and like focuses in on something. That's a better angle, a better way to go.
Des, you can have daily, like on social media, you can have daily posts that are interesting if you have them nice, or weekly. I always say, like, you know, you don't have to overdo it. You can even share some material from another club. From, like, you can do it from Copenhagen, for example, or from Gaelic Games Europe. Yeah, so you can do it from another part of the world, from Australia or Asia, which, you know, I've done for Gaelic Games Europe as well, because it's interesting. But in terms of like the quarterly one, that's the one where you want to have like a set piece event. So it's one where you can get the journalists to your club, to your event. Now you might have table quizzes going every fortnight or every 3 weeks. Yeah. Pick one that you know that there's going to be a fair old turnout at it, that you might be given an award for something, or you might make up an award. You know, that I'm sure Tony or I can rustle up a certificate to send over for something. Sorry, Tony, I'm putting you in a
player of the year or
exactly. Yeah, something awards.
Your annual awards is a good one, Des. And what I would always do there is, even if you're in a city, you know, if it's Stockholm and you have someone from Ringaby, where, you know, one of the suburbs where there's most of the social problems. If you got someone from there and you're giving them an award, there is a whole network, particularly you'll find in areas where there's deprivation and things, sometimes there's a huge amount of community projects. And if they have a success story, they will take that and they will magnify it for you.
Right.
Because it's a good news story.
Yeah.
So there's things like that. So like, for instance, you know, back a few years ago in Maastricht, when we were doing sort of, you know, end of season awards, we made sure that we gave an award to someone from each area in the city.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, it mightn't have been the best player, but it was the best player who could get his news attention.
Yeah, and most improved player. Yeah,
I guess it's a classic one for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or young player, or, you know, best first timer, whatever it might be.
Yeah, because like most of our main things are like would be pub quizzes. Then we'd be advertising, like said, going away tournaments, like to Stockholm, Copenhagen.
There you go, Des. The week before you go away to, and I'll double down on what Tony said, because he nailed it. Find out where people are from in your team, and send it home, like to different, like, you know, say, be Connacht Champion or to Dundalk Democrat or whoever it may be.
Yeah.
These players are going away. I let them know about it. But also, before you go away, have like an event, like a team announcement or something. Listen, it doesn't matter. We know that a lot of the time we're kind of like, you know, we're shaking the bushes to find players to get away, you know. Yeah. But if you have a team announcement at the same time as a pub quiz, for example, so the place is busy, and you invite a journalist or two in, they'll write about it, they'll see what the crack is, they'll go, oh, this is nice. Announce the team, make it nice and just put a little PowerPoint up or with a bit of music. Announce the team, or, you know, or hand out the jerseys for going away.
This, yeah, what you mean?
You know,
I mean, sorry. Yeah, there's a classic one for someone like Oslo, where you've one club in the country. You're representing Norway, not just representing Oslo. There's a whole angle. Yeah. So you've a local born player who starts on the team, even if they're not starting, might be, you know, last of the subs, but, you know, local lad makes it onto international stage story. Yeah.
Is the Nordic region part of the qualifiers for the European Championship? You know, you can spin it whatever way you want.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the time you can tell people stuff. It might not be factually exactly the position, but 99% of the readers won't know, and it doesn't matter. It gets
you've got so many angles in the club. Like, isn't actually
absolutely.
Last year there was a French guy got a loan of a Gaelic football, brought it down to his local. He was teaching in a local Norwegian club, teaches Gaelic football. Yeah, just teaches Gaelic football, and now he's living up in the north of the country, and he's still part of the team.
You have a story there.
Yeah,
you know, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and then just put it onto NRK or to whoever.
Exactly. And go like and do it and be brave and push it as well. And as Tony said, also when you go into some areas where there are projects going on, you'll suddenly find that they might find a little bit in their budget to have a training session a week, so you can get in and catch more of an audience. So there's all these opportunities as well to build on that. So, you know, do it. And in terms of when I mean like a quarterly, that'll be an event. So get a set piece event that really you have your energy built up for, that you're going to show your best side at that event. Okay. Yeah. But post up, you know, I always hesitate against daily, but at least weekly, put some social media posts up, whether it's about reminding people of training, whether it's about
I usually post up from Crow Park and from different things just to keep something kind of active, you know, so people looking at it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Keep it ticking over. Make sure this is nice and interesting and good. Matthieu, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just remember, like, for the word game, I just contact the journalist that I'm using, like, at the end, he just say, like, yeah, the local player, like, it was me, like, play with the French team at the word game. I never play with the French team. I just play with the European one. But like,
that's even better. You played for, you could have played for Europe B, as in France, but you played for Europe A. So okay.
Yeah. But
sorry,
you could also, like, it was like a big joke after in the team, because like the French team like go have maybe a better lovers than us, like, but it was like, okay, make like a big event, like someone from Sous Alsace go in like in the French team and represent like Alsace in like in the world game.
Well, you got it.
I thought it was funny, actually, because like every time I think it was like Europe is a county board in the whole thing, and then like you can say you can play at county now, you know, and that's a big thing in Ireland.
Listen, if it sells, it sells.
Yeah,
they can't dispute.
But that's a classic one of, you know, your local audience. They won't know how GA structures work. It makes no difference. Just say what you need to say. You know, this is the Norwegian team traveling to represent the country.
Yeah, I know one lad for sure that has it on his Tinder or one of these things anyway, that he's an international football player. I'm like, oh my, or Gaelic football player at that. I was like,
not actually wrong, you know.
It's not wrong. I was like, oh my god.
Just
for me, it's true. I play with Germany.
I mean, what Alan was saying there, mostly what we're talking about in these seminars is about getting publicity for the club. There is the other side of social media, which is about keeping the internal communication. keeping the members informed. And that's where you throw up the stuff like, you know, the picture from Crow Park or whatever. You know, that's not going to get you media coverage, but that, you know, the internal people in the club, and they're an audience as well. Remember, you have different audiences. You have the potential players audience. You have the people who are interested in sport audience. You have your own clubmates in audience. You have the hurlers in the club versus the footballers in the club, different audiences. It's called segmenting your audience and then tailoring your media output to meet the market segment that you want to meet. So it's about deciding on your objectives as well. But that's getting into the theory of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get 1,000 followers on Facebook, for example, you immediately become newsworthy, regardless of how you do. But if you get enough people, even if they're back home, because they'll see that as a potential outlet for sales. Okay, so it's again that media will follow on. Will follow that. They'll be interested.
At the moment in Oslo, we have a thing. It's like with basically the club's been going on 10 years, but a lot of the guys that started in the club are now fading away because they're like, you know, getting married, having kids, and their, you know, life is happening. And now it's kind of like we are in a kind of a transitional kind of reshape. How do we figure it out, kind of thing? So that's why I came here. I was like, oh, geez, I have to figure out how to reshape the narrative and how to attract natives as well as like well, obviously there's hardly any new expats coming into Norway at the moment, but you know, for people that are here, you know, so it's
you've got to use what you have, and this applies now whether, you know, it's Irish or Indigenous players. There's always angles that you can use for your social media, for your and for your mainstream media, if you like, or traditional media, whatever it's called these days. So, you know, there's loads of stories in your club. Remember, journalists want stories. Yeah. Not necessarily facts and figures. Facts and figures are boring. They want a story.
Yeah.
And remember, I think a good story always has a person in it or people in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So statistics.
Albert, go ahead, because you raised your hand.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just to reinforce what Tony said. I mean, that's it. The runners, what they want is a story. Basically, they want something interesting for them or something different. So maybe what we try to do here is try to enforce our differences from other sports, from other things that may appear on the news. You know, we are Gaelic football as a new sport. It has this, and this, which doesn't happen in football, doesn't happen in basketball, doesn't happen in, for example, Galicia competes in World Games. I mean, they're not official World Games, but they compete internationally. That doesn't happen in another sports. That's our story, for example, or one of our stories. And I mean, I find it very, very important to focus on that kind of things. What differentiates you? Obviously, going local. I mean, it's easier to catch the attention of a local or regional newspaper than obviously national. I mean, national. It's almost you have to grow from bottom to top.
You can sometimes get a national newspaper, but again, your story has to be outstanding, and it also kind of, if you prove it locally, then you'll see it growing as well. I mean, as I mentioned already, huge credit to Galicia for the work done for the World Games. It was stunning.
I don't know if you know. Last year we appeared on a Marca. I don't know if you know Marca. Which,
the main sports paper, yeah.
Yeah, we had a story which was in the middle of the newspaper. I mean, the main report of the Marca from, you know, they had no news on the summer, but we got to go in the Marca to a 2-page story full on what we do in Galicia. But I mean, that was amazing for us. But that's a one shot in 5 years. You know, it happens. I mean, it can be your target, but it happens.
Yeah, look, this is you nailed it, and hell, you nailed it, because you can something big like that, a national TV or a global news channel. That's great to get something there, but our bread and butter is local. You know, we're not looking to in Marker. You're not looking to try and transfer in players from Andalusia or something like that. Like you're looking to gather more players, to get more people interested in Galicia in your region. So the bread and butter is local. And also as well, once we, Tony also mentioned with Ireland as well, that it's sort of to get us noticed, okay? So even recently the remains of Red Hugh O'Donnell was found in Valladolid, I think it was. We mentioned it. And there was an upsurge in sort of like, oh, what's the remains of Red Hugh O'Donnell, so on and so forth, because people from home will start to look at a cross, and then once they see it spread out, there's GAA there as well, like, oh, that's interesting. So they start to look towards that. So I think it's something that we do undervalue ourselves a lot, but we can get there. So as Angel said, getting into market it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's huge win.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say to people is don't get irritated if the media gets some of the facts wrong. The fact is, the most important thing for you is having a story there. So often, I would hear people, oh, look, they said we'd 94 clubs, we've only 91. Who cares? We got a story in more than 90 clubs. So I tend to use phrases like more than or, whatever. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, I mean, I can count the times they spell our names wrong, or they tell something that's incredible. What it matters.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally right there. Some of the, when I reflect back on my, whatever it is, 16 years now in European GA, some of the best stories I've seen are a T-shirt worn by one of the German hurlers during the World Games, the last 2016 in Dublin. That got over 100,000 social media connections because it multiplied out. It was just a funny T-shirt. And then there was there's been a few other quirky ones. I remember we did, Jerome Quinn, who does some video work for us sometimes, did a little piece. He arrived in Berlin early for a tournament, and he did a little piece in front of the Brandenburg Gate with 2 Iraqi refugees hurling in front of the Brandenburg Gate. I can tell you that was picked up by about 50 different news outlets. And I mean, he was just literally had half an hour to spare, did a 2-minute, 3-minute video or report or whatever. And all of a sudden that just took legs. And that is still floating out there. I still see it popping up from time to time in my feeds, The other thing which we didn't mention last week, Alan, was about using your club outputs on your personal feeds. So for instance, if I do something and then I put it out on my Facebook feed, I've, 1,300 followers. On my LinkedIn, I have about 2,000 followers. So all of a sudden you're multiplying by a mass factor. But, your club might have, let's face it, a lot of clubs would have 100 or 200, the members and their friends. But if you do it on your own channels as well, you take what you do on the club and then replicate it, like it and share it through your own channels. Very quickly, for an extra minute's work, you multiply how many people see things.
And also as well, Tony, I think it's something that you do very, very well. I'm personally, I don't do it on my own personal stuff enough, is when you share it, you also make a comment. Mm-hmm. And it's important. So it's not just a mindless reshare. It's actually, it's something personal because people then will see it. It's not just a retweet, for example.
Yeah, there's a reason for that in that I remember reading a few years ago that Twitter, their algorithms, if you put a comment which is more than 10 characters, it goes higher up the algorithm than if you just retweet.
Oh, okay. That makes sense now. Again, and it's something as well that sometimes we're a little bit backwards in coming forward. And I did mention it where to share, to get the word out and share. When you put stuff out, as Tony mentioned, rightly, just directly saying it, encourage members to share the content that you put out from the club. Take a lead yourself. Again, I'll use it local. I mean, Laura's here for Shamrocks, like, this past year or even before when she was covering PRO and now it's PRO, she would put something up and share it herself. Okay, so again, it's important to get people into the habit of it because again, that goes to their friends, their colleagues, and so on and so forth. So it's something to push it out. I did mention it in the presentation, but it's better that we make it very clear to say share. It's not North Korea. We can't force people to do it, but
sorry, I took you off topic there. That was more last week, but yeah.
No. I mentioned it again, Tony. No, it's a good mention. And we've got a few minutes left. We are a little bit over time, I'd hope, but still, it's good. Any questions or comments? Any queries?
What are we doing next week, Alan?
Next week will be quite interesting. I have a special guest coming in to discuss about, well, basically, again, about presenting the club. Okay, so it'll be a specialist, and it'll be for social media, okay, and social media related to events. So it'll be a secret guest that'll come in for part of it. That's going to basically, how to say, we've done a step where what is social media, how we get attention, and now how we can start to try to monetize it a little bit as well. So it'll be, it's not SEO, that's search engine optimization is different. So next week will be someone who will tell us how to catch sponsors, how to win friends and make money from it.
Without using Google AdWords.
Without spending, because again, spending, you have to be very specific. You have to have, like, it's quite difficult to get it right. And even it's very hard to get it right, but we'll have it next week. We'll have someone who can actually tell us how to really work the system. Des?
Yeah, on Facebook it seemed to work out last year. Like, one of the guys actually tagged the location. And is there stuff like that that helps to, like, you know, tagging stuff? Like, does that have a massive help, or is it just?
It mightn't. We discussed it a wee bit last week, Des, and we'll discuss it. The person coming in next week will tell us a little bit more on how to really make it work. For example, Doritos. Simple example. Doritos have arrived in Russia. We've been dying for Doritos for years. They've never been here. So we got Doritos. Okay. For anyone who doesn't know what Doritos are, you're probably lucky because they're addictive. They're basically the Mexican kind of spicy tortillas. Anyway, you basically, thank you, Matthew. Sorry, just the presentation is in the chat for here, so you can check and download it. The guy was eating a packet of Doritos, put in Doritos Russia in his Instagram page, and goes, life begins in Russia. Now we have Doritos. Doritos liked it, shared it, and sent him a box of Doritos.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? He was the first person to do it. They were running some small little campaigns, but he did that. So next week we will discuss it. Like this kind of it leads to monetization of our social media and also getting like more interest from sponsors. It can be very tricky. Like I mentioned last week, I think it was Neve asked last week about like hashtags and so on. There's certain hashtags we shouldn't really bother with, like hashtag Trump. Okay, you're not going to like the people who come along then afterwards, good or bad, or something that's trending like COVID-19, like hashtag COVID or hashtag something tragedy, because immediately people go, oh, they're either astroturfing or they're not real. Like it's not interesting. So we'll discuss it in more detail next week. But basically, the location is important. Get the location correct, because also, for example, on Instagram, if your location is with Oliver Callan, Inniskeen Monaghan, there's Inniskeen Monaghan stories, and people see it coming up. It comes into their feed, and then they start to look at it. So all you need is one or two of these people to come in to have a look at your media, to see what you're doing. That's okay. And also it's very important, if it's, for example, the event is taking place in a pub, a club, a stadium, get the location right. Location is very, very important, because it sort of, it gives you a little bit of gravitas, okay? So hashtags and ats, that's something we can look at a little bit later. As I mentioned last week, is your club, city, region, country, like that kind of pyramid. So make sure you hashtag your club, hashtag your city, hashtag your region, hashtag your country, and then hashtag, for example, GGE. Okay, so then that way, then within Europe we start to spread. Hashtag GAA as well, and they genuinely do work, but you have to be careful with your tags as well. But we'll discuss in detail next week. So we sort of the pitfalls with it as well.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Thanks.
Thanks, Ed. Okay, we've got another few minutes. So any more questions or comments? Anyone raising their hands, Matthew?
don't know. I don't see anyone raising the hand, but
Okay. So good. Deirdre, is it making more sense this week than last week?
Well, the other way around for me, actually. So, but I'm learning really new things now.
Okay. Next week, we'll bring it all together. We'll tie it all up. Today, because it's important we have Tony here. Tony's worked on, especially the side of catching journalists' attention. So this is it's an important one to cover for us to grow, to get numbers, and also to get considered for projects and to get interest from home and to build up for Gaelic Games Europe as well, okay? Because we're one big family and we support each other in that. Next week, we'll break it down to make it more simple to how to, like, what to post and so on, especially for, like, as Tony mentioned quite rightly, internal, okay? How we can build up our, like, to be a news source, okay? So it'll make more sense next week. It'll make, more sense next week.
Yeah, just the journalism part is completely new for me. Like, social media is, I don't know, it's more my area. And journalism is completely new for me. So it makes sense, but I need to do it real life, you know? See what happened, what the reactions are, and just see how everything goes then.
You'd be surprised. Tony, sorry.
Yeah, we might be able to do maybe a session. I'm happy to do it on writing a press release.
Tony, that's ideal. I think that's something that if there's a template or a sample sent, and then we have a chat afterwards.
Yeah.
Would that be good?
Yeah.
Because I think
we could even do a clinic about people who would draft a press release, and then we can dissect it, in a positive fashion.
Yeah, I think it's something. It's a skill. It's something that it's trial and error, and it's even with experience.
Method, yeah.
Is you put it down, and you have to get your voice there as well, not just your club, but your voice as well, because you are the person representing your club. So you need to be, as I said, like, you have to be brave, to be aggressive, to show yourself off, because, as Tony said, like, command it. If you get yourself in front of the journalist, they'll come back. They'll help. Laura, everything's making sense for you, or even less sense than normally when I'm speaking?
No, you're making a lot of sense tonight, Alan. I also enjoyed the jokes about North Korea. So
well, since we're in Russia, we can make those jokes, Yeah. We're okay. We're having on the 1st of July, we're having a massive referendum, which is all over the place, including to allow Vladimir Putin to run until he's 84 years of age. So, I'm
a strong leader.
Exactly. Listen, if my salary hits my account on time, the lights stay on, and there's not people shooting up at my window more than usual, I'm happy. So it's I'm okay. Claudia, everything was okay?
Yeah, thank you. Still learning a lot.
It's bit by bit, Claudia. We'll pull it together.
Yeah.
Neve, things are okay down in Bavaria?
Yeah, definitely all good. I'd definitely be interested in doing like a workshop thing about writing a press release. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But everything good so far?
Excellent. Sinead? Sinead?
Yeah.
It's making sense for you?
Yeah. I can't. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It was coming up that was still muted. No, everything's all making sense here. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. And up in, I think, north in Groningen? In Groningen, we hear? Okay, logged it. Matthieu, everyone's okay. Everyone's okay. So basically,
just a question, Alan. If you make a press release, you make in local language.
Normally, yes.
Yeah.
So it means that it needs to be reviewed by someone who speaks the local language.
Absolutely. Certainly, if an Irish person is writing it and it's for a French market or a Dutch market or whatever, you do need to tailor that, and you need to check it. And Google Translate is not good enough.
That is, yeah, Tony's dead right. Yeah. I found out my cost a couple times in Russian when like receiving something and trying to translate it back into English, or actually sometimes translating it from English to Russian.
In actual fact, now that you know everyone's on Microsoft, if you actually translate within Word, you actually get a better machine translation, and even better. It can be.
Is that DeepL?
I was about to mention DeepL, DEEPLE. They don't have as many languages as Google Translate, but it's much better, more accurate.
Okay.
But Google Translate make a lot of progress compared to like few years.
Compared to a few years ago, yeah. But DeepL is even more advanced. And I'm not sure. I think Microsoft might be using the same AI, artificial intelligence technology as DeepL are, because it seems to improve almost week by week.
Excellent. Okay, folks, if you're okay, we'll wrap it up there right now. The video will be up. All going well, I'll download it today and I'll put it up tomorrow because I'm on holidays, so I'll put it up. And yeah, so basically, thank you very much. Same time next channel, back channel next week. We'll go through. We'll have a guest. We'll basically break down a little bit about going through the social media and with the @ and hashtag and locations. We'll focus more just on that. And I think, Tony, we can extend it for another week and do the kind of the mini workshop on.
Yeah, if you want to. I must check my diary, but in principle, no problem.
Okay, so Wednesday week. If not, we'll know by next week anyway. So we'll have it sorted. Okay.